Part 115. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1143. It's okay. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future, and the hidden dragon sea is not big. Mu Xiaoxian smiled warmly, as if not affected at all, and then said goodbye to Zhang Zizai. Goodbye, Sister. Zhang Zizai smiled. Beside him, Long Yan stood quietly. She seldom spoke when there were many people, but Zhang Zizai also enjoyed her tranquility. After bidding farewell to Mu Xiaoxian, he gently pulled her arm. The two looked at each other. Zhang Zizai smiled at her, and then left together. In fact, people can see that at least within the entire Zilong Academy, there cannot be any girl with a better relationship than Long Yan and Zhang Zizai. The relationship between them has reached the point where they can know each other's thoughts without even speaking a word, just by looking at each other. After they left, the excitement of the Supreme Hidden Dragon battlefield seemed to have dissipated. Zhang Zizai walked to the entrance of the Supreme Hidden Dragon battlefield. After defeating Huangfu Feng, even when he left, many people were still watching him and discussing him. At this moment, suddenly, a person rushed in at the door. He rushed in so anxiously that he almost knocked Zhang Zizai away. Zhang Zizai hurriedly dodged before letting the man rush over. He was in such a hurry that he didn't even know what was going on. With doubts, Zhang Zizai looked back. He remembered that this person was also ranked very high on the supreme list. His ranking should be similar to his current one. He came from the demonic dragon celestial clan and was on the same level as Huangfu Feng. In this, among the Zilong Academy, they all belonged to the highly respected ones. Zhang Zizai discovered that this man was sweating profusely and his face was pale. There was almost no blood, but there were a lot of bloodshot eyes where his eyes were. What happened to him? Zhang Zizai was a little curious, and others who saw this person were equally curious. Yu Qing, many people's eyes fell on him. Everyone, something big happened. Yu Qing's voice was heavy, as if there was a big rock on top of his head, making him a little breathless. What's going on? Yeah, as for panic. People looked at him indifferently, and many battles continued on the battlefield. There is another battle in the Chaos Demon realm. This time, we are at a disadvantage again, Yu Qing said with a trembling voice. When he said these words, people's faces froze. Even those who were fighting stopped at this time. Several dragon sacrifice masters directly surrounded them. They didn't know what happened, and they all surrounded Yu Qing asked. What the hell happened? Yu Qing took a deep breath and said, it is said that when we were setting up the defense line, a group of people entered the range of the Chaos Demon realm. The Immortal Lord and the Underworld Demon appeared directly, causing a battle. Because there were not many people present, this despicable person they found an opportunity, and our Supreme Dragon clan suffered heavy losses this time. When they heard the words heavy losses, people's faces turned ugly and they were filled with anger. Tell me, what's the loss? You must never be frightened by nonsense. Amidst people's nervous inquiries, he took a deep breath again, and then said, this is a team headed by 3 dragon lords and dozens of god kings. They entered the Chaos Demon realm and were directly killed. The 3 none of the dragon lords and these god kings could survive, and the 3 immortal dragon lords were also killed by the Immortal Lord. To be honest, in the Supreme Dragon clan, even if a dragon lord dies in battle, it is a huge loss for the entire clan and a great pain for the ages. The death of the Blizzard Dragon Lord last time brought the Blizzard Dragon clan, which had been breeding for 300,000 years, back to where it started. The birth of every god is the talent of the Supreme Dragon clan, and it is also the guarantee for the Supreme Dragon clan to occupy the Dragon Sacrifice God realm. Otherwise, I don't know who will take charge of such a good place. The death of the 3 dragon lords in battle is definitely a heavy loss for the entire Supreme Dragon clan. The gods will not run out of life, so as long as they do not die, they can exist forever. For a moment, the scene was completely silent. For them, such news was much more serious than Zhang Zizai's defeat of Huang Fufeng just now. Many people's faces were very miserable. They could not accept that such a large supreme dragon clan was really helpless against this dragon lord. The other gods haven't responded yet? Why don't they go in and seek justice for us? Some people are concerned about this. Which 3 dragon lords died in the battle? Which other god kings? More people are concerned about this, because they have elders there, and it is very likely that the ones who died in the battle are their elders. In fact, this issue is more concerning. There are all top geniuses present. Generally speaking, their parents and elders are basically god kings or above. Yu Qing knew the news. He said in a sad and angry voice, the 3 deceased dragon lords are the Tianxiang dragon lord of the divine dragon celestial clan, the Qingxiu dragon lord of the immortal dragon celestial clan, and the Xuanhuan dragon lord of the demonic dragon celestial clan. As for the god king, it's not clear yet. There should be more news coming in the near future, so you can ask again. The scene fell into absolute silence. As long as you are a dragon lord, you are a legend of the generation, and you will definitely not be an unknown person. Except for Zhang Zizai and the others, there is almost no one who does not know them. Tianxiang Dragon Lord, Qingxiu Dragon Lord and Xuanhuan Dragon Lord are all dragon lords who have been gods for a long time. Their qualifications are still higher than Blizzard Dragon Lord. Just the death of these 3 dragon lords has no impact on the Supreme Lord. The dragon clan has a huge influence. The scene was in sorrow. The Supreme Dragon Clan, where these 2 dragon lords were, except for the Holy Dragon Clan and the Demon Dragon Clan, were basically very uncomfortable. Especially the direct descendants of these dragon lords. Losing them means that their future status will decline, and no one will protect them when they grow up. For them, this is an incredible blow. It's a bit coincidental. Zhang Zizai didn't know it very well, but now he heard people around him discussing that Tianxiang Dragon Lord was one of the pillars of the Huangfu family, and Qingxiu Dragon Lord was the god of the Xianlongmu family. Huangfu Feng and Mu Xiaoxian are their direct descendants. In fact, it was because of the friendship between these 2 that Huangfu Feng felt that he had hope and launched an offensive against Mu Xiaoxian. Once these 2 dragon lords reached a consensus, he would have a chance. But he never expected that these 2 would die first in the Chaos Demon realm. Zhang Zizai looked around and he could no longer see Huangfu Feng and Mu Xiaoxian in the crowd. The scene was a bit chaotic. The young geniuses of the Supreme Dragon Clan were mourning and fell into angry hatred. The field seemed to be burning, and the heroes were already furious. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1144. When Zhang Zizai heard about this, he was a little surprised. It seems that I underestimated the hatred between her and the Supreme Dragon Clan. When she returns this time, she really wants to fight to the death. She is really not joking. 3 dragon lords and dozens of god kings have been killed as soon as they were told. Now, as long as they enter the range of the Chaos Demon realm, she will kill people. Anyway, she will directly seal the entire Chaos Demon realm. When she got up, she had the will of all sentient beings there, so she was absolutely safe. Maybe he felt that such a character was slightly different from her in his heart. Remembering that the person who accompanied him to watch the stars on the Beast God Tower might no longer exist in this world, Zhang Zizai felt inexplicably uncomfortable. He still couldn't help losing her like this. Bear. So, he still doesn't want to give up. Maybe one day, she will still be like that. The last meeting was too short. Does she really not care about her at all? Zhang Zizai fell into chaos. He didn't notice that all the young disciples of the Supreme Dragon Clan were now gathering together, cursing endlessly. Just wait and see, she will definitely cause a big trouble this time. The elders will definitely make up their mind to let her die without a burial place. How dare you do this to my Supreme Dragon Clan? Kill 4 of our dragon lords. We haven't lost 4 dragon lords in many years. Not only her, but this time, the entire Chaos Demon realm will be wiped out. We must avenge the 4 dragon lords and the god kings. There must be a way to crack the totem array. Maybe the elders already have a way. This murderous bitch will have to die sooner or later. This dragon sacrifice domain belongs to our supreme dragon clan, and there will be no place for her. People cursed angrily. I am afraid that this is the only way to resolve their hatred. Brother Zizi, let's go. All this has nothing to do with them, and it is difficult for them to feel their anger, especially Zhang Zizi. Maybe people think that he will eventually be ashamed to the Supreme Dragon Clan, which makes sense. Zhang Zizi cannot deceive himself. His roots are in the origin continent, in the great Zhongqing city. The dragon sacrifice god realm is too big for him, so let him. There are only 2 places where my heart has been at peace, one is Dajiangqing city, and the other is the embrace of the 9 immortals. Okay, Zhang Zizi mingled among the crowd. He and Long Yan were about to walk out of this chaotic and violent place. They were still roaring at the top of their lungs. Does this bitch really think that if she is reincarnated, we can't kill her again? It can only be said that she is very lucky to be reincarnated. It is said that the probability of reincarnation is very low, and the strength before death does not matter at all. Even ordinary ancient gods and gods have similar chances of reincarnation. If Zhang Zizi hadn't helped her, she probably wouldn't have succeeded. Yes, when it comes to this matter, it's Zhang Zizi's fault. If it hadn't been for him, none of our 4 dragon lords and those god kings would have died. We wouldn't have been protected here, and our supreme dragon clan wouldn't have died. So passive. I can't figure out why the elders want to protect him. Isn't he our blood feud? Yes. It was he who created all of this. He is still protected in Zilong Academy. What are you thinking? Speechless. If you ask me, let's kill him and avenge the Dragon Lord and the God Kings. Let's do it together and no one will care. If we all work together, no one will be blamed. I am afraid that some people will not dare to go up. With so many of us, against a 2nd or 3rd level Divine King, no one knows whose hands he died. You're right. Let's take action together. Whoever doesn't takes action is a coward. He is a softie. Do it, kill him, and avenge the Dragon Lords. Are you still the Supreme Dragon Clan? What kind of genius are you? If it weren't for him, would we have lost 4 Dragon Lords? And he is not included in our Supreme Dragon Clan at all. He comes from the small god realm and has nothing to do with us. He is completely an outsider. If we let him grow up and get our resources, this white-eyed wolf will not betray us in the end. Kill him. Kill him. Zhang Zizi walked to the door. He didn't even know how the angry shouting between them evolved into what it is now. When he turned around, he saw thousands of people with blood-red eyes like wild beasts, looking at him with hatred. Some people may be hesitant, and some may not have made a decision, but amid the group's instigation and seeing others showing their fangs, many people just followed. This time, it happened to be someone who hated Zhang Zizi who took the lead. In such a chaotic environment, no one knew who instigated it. The voice was so noisy that it was impossible to know who was speaking. But the result was still that most people turned their murderous intentions towards the Immortal Lord onto Zhang Zizi out of anger. They can't do anything against Immortal Lord, but they can deal with Zhang Zizi. This is probably the only reaction they can make to this incident. Otherwise, they really don't know what they can do in the Ancestral Dragon Academy when the Supreme Dragon Clan undergoes such great changes. Perhaps, they thought that killing Zhang Zizi would at least traumatize the Immortal Lord. Anyway, Zhang Zizi has completely blocked these murderous intentions at this moment, and he knows that as long as one person takes the lead, he will soon have to face thousands of troops. But why does he need thousands of troops? As long as these people are not in the anti-time dragon formation, only one or two gods of the 6th or 7th level can get rid of Zhang Zizai. What they need is just a phenomenon. The phenomenon is that all the disciples of the Zilong Academy will kill Zhang Zizai together, and no single person will be punished for it. In this way, they can be fearless. If someone acts alone, they may end up like Huangfu Li. Forbidden Dragon Xuanbi for 10 years. As for who completed the fatal blow now, it is no longer important. When they condensed into a whole, the elders could not punish them, because they were the future of the Supreme Dragon clan, and Zhang Zizai's status was not so important to the elders. They would only feel sorry, but there was no other way. When Zhang Zizai looked up, he saw a particularly ferocious sight in the crowd. That was Huangfu Feng. He was in countless blood-red eyes, but the corners of his mouth were hooked with a smile. He was ferocious because his ancestor Tianxiang Longzun was dead. He was also excited, because Zhang Zizai knew for sure that to incite people to such a scale, people from his Huangfu family must have been behind it. After all, his Huangfu family suffered heavy losses this time, and those Huangfu family disciples who were defeated by him would definitely not let go of such an opportunity. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1145. Sometimes, just saying a few words can cause an avalanche. What Zhang Zizai is facing now is an avalanche. There was Long Yan beside him. Once Zhang Zizai was killed, Long Yan would have no chance of surviving. Outside the time reverse dragon formation, even the chaos lightning could not dodge the pursuit of thousands of people. There was no room for thinking. At this moment, thousands of people roared and came to kill. It doesn't take much effort. Everyone's ancient divine power can turn Zhang Zizai into powder when combined. At that moment, time paused for Zhang Zizai, a bit like a flashback before death. He really had no choice. He glanced at the dragon sacrificial masters who were controlling the scene and found that they didn't make any moves. Maybe they wanted to pretend that they couldn't control the situation. After all, there were too many people who were angered. It's impossible to stop them, not even one or two people can do anything. All this happened too fast, life and death happened in an instant, and no one could stop the murderous intent and rage of thousands of geniuses. In the light of the calcium carbide fire, Zhang Zizai could only rush to grab Yanu's palm. At that time, she happened to reach over. Zhang Zizai saw her. She was actually very quiet. Maybe in the next moment, they would meet. It disappeared into ashes. Dying together is also comforting. But Zhang Zizai was unwilling to give in. He still had too many things he wanted to do, and there were too many people he couldn't let go of. From this moment on, his view of the Supreme Dragon clan completely changed. Sure enough, what doesn't belong to you will never be yours. They always remember that they are just outsiders. So, why should I belong to them? Is it just because I have obtained their cultivation resources? He didn't know what his future would be like, at least at this moment, he already hated this place. Perhaps the only person he respects is the heavenly dragon god king, but he is also from the small god realm. Death, like a bolt of lightning, struck him directly in the heart. Zhang Zizai has already smelled the smell of death. Together with Long Yan, he will be swallowed up by this countless anger. This is like a small boat that disappears without a trace in the blink of an eye in the face of the storm on the ocean. At that moment, the only thing Zhang Zizai could do was hold her hands tightly. Another death together. However, he had to express his gratitude for his luck and destiny. This time, he is not even dead yet. Suddenly, his body flashed, and he and Yanner appeared directly high in the sky. Zhang Zizi was stunned and quickly hugged her, and the two of them stabilized in the air. Let's go back. The heavenly dragon god king appeared beside him at some unknown time. After saying this, he asked Zhang Zizai and Long Yan to follow him. Zhang Zizai glanced below. The geniuses at the Supreme Hidden Dragon battlefield still didn't know where he had gone. They were looking for him angrily. They roared one after another, like hungry beasts that had lost their prey. Zhang Zizai looked at when Huang Fufeng arrived. He was extremely vicious and guided the remaining people towards his Qianlong palace. What do you think? Tianlong God King turned around and asked him. Zhang Zizai closed his eyes, then opened them again and said, "There are no feelings anymore. I am an outsider after all. They will always remember it. What a coincidence, so am I." The heavenly dragon god king grinned. Zhang Zizai smiled, feeling that he had found a close friend. Even though the heavenly dragon god king had become a member of the Bright Dragon Society for the first time, his status was still insignificant in front of these people. They had returned to Qianlong Palace at this time, and the heavenly dragon god king directly called Lu Dingxing and Xuanhuan out. Go back to Qingchuan for a while to avoid the limelight. There is too much movement this time. I can't hide you even on the first day of the new year, but not on the 15th. I can't pay attention to you all the time, said the heavenly dragon god king. Unexpectedly, this matter has become so serious, especially Lu Dingxing and Xuanhuan. If they are killed, they will not be able to get anything back. As their dragon servants, they were looked down upon even more than Zhang Zizai. Zhang Zizai nodded. It was time to go back. It's a pity that I just entered the Hidden Dragon Sea today, Zhang Zizai said. Don't worry, you can still come back once the storm is over. It's yours and no one can take it away, the heavenly dragon god king said. People do forget. But Zhang Zizai knew that this time he came here, he would never be as free as before. In this ancestral dragon academy, those people would always regard him as an enemy. If the immortal lord tortures them once, they will torture themselves once. It's a life and death crisis at any time. So what should you do? Zhang Zizai knew that he would be ruthless and would seize all resources to make himself stronger. They didn't care whose resources and inheritance it was. He just wanted to be strong. Only that day would he be able to control his life or death. Talent is respected. The heavenly dragon god king took them back to the Qingchuan little god realm without saying hello to the others. There was actually no need to say hello this time. The news that the group of people had joined forces to kill Zhang Zizai would spread sooner or later. The reaction of the elders, it determines Zhang Zizai's future living environment here. If they didn't care, Zhang Zizai would definitely be killed a second or third time in the future. However, this place is indeed suitable for Zhang Zizai to practice. If he returns to Qingchuan, he will indeed lose many opportunities, such as the Hidden Dragon Sea, such as the son of the divine artifact of the Holy Dragon Mountain. But now it's important to save your life. Only the heavenly dragon god king could travel between the sacrifice dragon divine realm and the small divine realm. Zhang Zizai and the others didn't know what was going on, but they returned to this familiar place. I'll talk to the Holy Emperor, and he will bring your sister here, the heavenly dragon god king said to Long Yan. Then, the heavenly dragon god king prepared to put Zhang Zizai in the god king palace. Zhang Zizai used to be here, and his sisters were also here. Lu Dingxing and Xuanhuan were not going back to the Dao demon sect and the Forgotten River Sword Tomb. The heavenly dragon god king put them at the door of the god king palace. He said something to the heavenly capital god king, and then he returned to the sacrifice dragon divine realm first. After all, he had something to do there. I'll pick you up when the situation there gets better. It's best not to fall behind in your cultivation during this period, the heavenly dragon god king said. Zhang Zizai nodded. After he left, they walked into the god king palace. At this time, a large group of people had already come out to greet them at the god king palace. The most important one, of course, was the debt of love. Before Zhang Zizai could react, the girl had already hugged him, wanting to squeeze her whole body into his arms. Be careful of the impact, Zhang Zizai said with a headache, but Suyuexi was like this, she was getting stronger and stronger, wanting to strangle Zhang Zizai to death. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 1146. After leaving the Dragon Sacrifice Divine Domain and the Ancestral Dragon Academy, and getting away from the site of hatred and disgust, and returning to the Qingchuan Small Divine Domain, Zhang Zizai's mood was completely relaxed. The Dragon Sacrifice Divine Domain is not his home, but the Qingchuan Small Divine Domain feels like that. Here, the top forces, the God King Palace, the Holy Emperor Tianmen, the Dao Mo sect and the Wangchuan Sword Tomb, are basically on their side, and the Dragon God King is the master here, so after returning, they can really be free. Compared with the fighting and oppression in the Ancestral Dragon Academy, this place is really too comfortable. The only bad thing about being too comfortable is that the pressure of cultivation is not high, and although the fierce fighting environment is uncomfortable, it can indeed make people make great progress. However, occasional relaxation is also very beneficial to cultivation. The Dragon God King went back first for something, and Zhang Zizai's mentality was adjusted. In the future, he will enjoy and cultivate for a period of time, and prepare for the next fierce battle. Hey, be careful of the impact, Zhang Zizai said so, but his palm was still not honest, wandering around her body for a few times. To deal with Suyuexi, you must be more perverted than her and make her shy, otherwise she will not get off you. Sure enough, when Zhang Zizai did this, she immediately dodged with a ruddy face, and said in shame and anger, "You are really a dog that can't change its eating shit." Yes, who made shit grow like you? Zhang Zizai laughed. In fact, he has seen many beauties, such as in the Dragon Sacrifice Divine Domain, the Mu Xiaoxian sisters are almost perfect, but in comparison, Zhang Zizai prefers Suyuexi, because she is pure and straightforward, and it is very comfortable to play with her. So for Zhang Zizai, the beauty of beauty has no level and grade. He only remembers those beauties who have left a deep impression on him. In his eyes, Feng Xiaoxiao is much more attractive than Mu Xiaoxian. This time when he comes back to Qingchuan, he will have the opportunity to return to the well of the divine domain. Zhang Zizai has many gifts that he wants to prepare for her, and they are all ready. The elders were watching the laughter between him and Suyuexi, but Tiandu God King simply turned his head away and coughed twice, pretending that he didn't see it. In addition to them, Zhang Zizai's elder sister and younger sister were still there. This time, Zhang Zizai prepared a very good God Lord evolution source for them, which can make their totems close to the God Lord realm. Maybe after a while, even they can become gods. Zhang Yuning may have told them about what happened in the Sacrifice Dragon Divine Domain, so they now know that Zhang Zizai and they are studying in the Zilong Academy. They entered the God King Hall together. Tiandu God King asked, "Did you miss home this time? Or is there another reason?" Zhang Zizai told the story of Zilong Academy. "It turns out that it's not because you miss Yuexi. It seems that my daughter is happy for nothing." Tiandu God King laughed. "Dad, what nonsense are you talking about?" Suyuexi said angrily. Everyone laughed happily. "Just kidding, have fun, but since you're back, take a good rest. Anyway, this is the God King's territory. The entire small God realm is your home. No one will threaten you here. You can walk sideways as you please," Tiandu God King said. "This is the harbor." Although Zhang Zizai also came from the Totem world, he has established a foundation here. Tiandu God King arranged a place for them to live. Zhang Zizai was not used to other places, so he stayed in Yanyu Tower. This made Su Yanyu very happy. She claimed that she would use all her skills to serve Zhang Zizai well in these big guys who came back from the Dragon Sacrifice God realm. After not seeing her for a while, she was still charming and charming. In this small God realm, they can be regarded as the most beautiful sisters. Their temptation is much higher than that of Mu Xiaoxian and her sisters. After the arrangement, Tian De God King and other elders did not disturb the freedom of the young people. After a little inquiry, they left first. Zhang Zizai and the others settled down here. Xiaobao, can we go back to the sacrifice dragon divine realm? Zhang Yuning asked. I will definitely go back, Zhang Zizai said. I always dream of Lingling these days, and I'm afraid she will be bullied. She said worriedly. No, it's just a little difficult to see her, but give me some time. Zhang Zizai smiled and patted her shoulder gently. I know, after all, you are too young, it's too difficult to control all this, so you should take your time and don't mess up your mood, she said softly. Regarding the sacrifice dragon divine realm, Zhang Zizai couldn't not go back. After this rest, he must have more power after killing back, and his life will no longer be controlled by others. Next, Zhang Zizai escorted her and Ruo Xiaoyu, and let them evolve the totem to the god level. With a god level totem, theoretically, the future achievements are at least the god level. Yan'er missed her sister and silently waited for Sheng Xiao's arrival. Lu Dingxing reminisced with Ruo Xiaoyu, and this time when he returned, Su Qinyu also wanted to find someone. That person was still in the totem world. He couldn't go back to the totem world now, so he left the palace of the God King first and went to find Tai Er Sword Lord of the Wang Chuan Sword Tomb. Tai Er Sword Lord could take him back to the well of the divine realm, and then he could meet Ximen Shensu at the entrance of the Sword Soul Totem world. He had also prepared enough evolution sources and was ready to bring the person he grew up with to Qing Chuan. Su Qinyu is a very pure person. He has also met women with predestined relationships in the small god realm and the god realm, but he has never paid too much attention to them, because once he has identified a person, no matter how humble she is now, his heart has never changed. I want to know everything you have done over there in the past 2 years, let's talk about it together at night. He and Su Yuexi sat on the eaves. In fact, she already knew about the matter of the immortal venerable. In fact, think about it, you really made a profit. When I was in the small god realm, I couldn't imagine what kind of existence this immortal venerable was. You actually had a relationship with him and gave birth to a child. Isn't this a huge profit? As for your daughter, she came to snatch her away personally. It's her own bloodline, how could she not treat her well? So I think you don't need to think too much. She will be fine. You should become stronger. After many years, if you can be on an equal footing with her, you can see your daughter. Lingling is such a smart child, she will not forget you, she thought she understood. In the final analysis, it's your self-esteem as a man that's at work, Su Yuexi said disdainfully. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1147. She thought for a moment and said, the only trouble is Yan'er. Oh, it's a headache. She follows you wholeheartedly and is braver than me. You really can't treat this girl badly. She enjoys the feeling of protecting you, but you can't let her live for more than 8 years. No one can help you. Think of a way yourself. She hit the point. Zhang Zizai's biggest headache is this matter. Shen Xiao will be here soon, and he estimates that he will be abused by her. As for my lifelong event, let's put it aside. Su Yuexi sat under the moonlight, holding her chin with her hand, looking at him with strange eyes. What does your lifelong event have to do with me? Zhang Zizai glared. Don't cheat. Anyway, I'm relying on you, you can do whatever you want. If you don't marry me, I will always rely on you. Anyway, I'm a god now and can live for 10,000 years. I'm not in a hurry, she smiled and looked proud. Zhang Zizai was happy. He put his arm around Su Yuexi's shoulders, half hanging on her, and said, then let you stay. It's okay to be brothers anyway. Who wants to be a brother with you? It's better to be a sister. Don't annoy me. Sooner or later, I will chop off the source of your sin, so you won't have any trouble, Xuanhuan said. Rogue Zhang Zizai said contemptuously. In fact, she is also very good, simple and straightforward, not hiding, nor pretentious. But, why can Lu Dingxing and others focus on one person? Is it really because I am too fickle? Or is it because Juxian is getting farther and farther away from me? Perhaps knowing that Shen Xiao is going to get angry, Xuanhuan ran away directly after hearing that Shen Xiao has come, and Zhang Zizai can only bite the bullet and face her storm alone. She and Yanner had already met. Zhang Zizai waited for a while before going in. When he stepped into the gate, he thought he would run out and show his teeth and claws, but he didn't expect that after entering, he found that they were just standing hand in hand. When Zhang Zizai came in, Shen Xiao looked over, his eyes slightly red. "Come in," she said. Ye Zhang Zizai walked in front of her, actually ready to be scolded. "I don't want to know anything, I just want Yanner to live well 10 years later," she said. "I know, I will try my best," Zhang Zizai said. "This matter is more important than his own life." "How much effort?" "All." "That's it?" "It's okay, don't be restrained in front of me, I don't know what kind of character you are." "I also know that her matter is still a big blow to you," Shen Xiao said. "It's rare that she can understand herself. People will grow up, and so is Shen Xiao. They talk to each other as if they have nothing to do with themselves. Shen Xiao is not going to go back to Shendi Tianmen during this period of time. Her cultivation here was also very smooth. Although she was not as abnormal as Zhang Zizai and the others in the dragon sacrifice divine domain, she was also quite good. There was a high possibility that she would surpass the Holy Emperor and become a divine king in the future. Especially after Zhang Zizai returned, they would have more opportunities. A few days later, they returned to the rhythm of cultivation. On this day, an inappropriate person came to the Divine King Palace. Xuanhuan, who came back from outside, said that it was the Lord of the Eternal Night Star and his tribe who came from the Eternal Night Star Sea. They were not aggressive, but in the form of visiting. The Divine King of Tiandu naturally received them well. After all, in this small divine domain, you can see them if you look down. "What is she doing here? She must have heard that you are back and wanted to come and see your current situation with her own eyes to determine whether she still has a chance to take revenge. Isn't her man from a place called the Star River Divine Domain? If you don't come back, she will definitely give up completely, but now she is back. She came to visit as an excuse, and actually she still wants to see your current situation with her own eyes," Xuanhuan said. Even she knew the purpose of the Lord of the Eternal Night, not to mention others. At that time, Ji Yingying was her only offspring and the daughter of the God King of the Galaxy Divine Realm. She valued her more than anything else. If it weren't for the suppression of the heavenly dragon God King, she would not have given up. So she pretended to be careless and said that she heard that you were back and wanted to admire you. "What achievements have you made after studying in the Sacrifice Dragon Divine Realm now?" Xuanhuan said in a delicate voice. She blinked her eyes, looked at Zhang Zizai, and said, "By the way, I'm a little curious too. What are you capable of now, Zhang Zizai?" "Sister, 1,000 of you are not his opponent," Xuanhuan smiled. "Are you serious?" Xuanhuan was at the peak of the ancient god realm at that time, and now she is still a long way from the God King. Her eyes lit up, and she suddenly attacked Zhang Zizai. She remembered that when they first met, she had transformed into the 9 Immortals to play Zhang Zizai around. In just a blink of an eye, Zhang Zizai disappeared in front of her. She couldn't touch him at all. Just when she was stunned, Zhang Zizai slapped her hips. With a snap, they were firm and full, and the sound lingered. "It feels good," Zhang Zizai said. "Bitch, what are you doing?" Xuanhuan was furious. This guy actually flirted with her sister. What annoyed her most was that Xuanhuan was not angry, but giggled. I was wrong. If she hadn't taken the initiative to admit her mistake, she would probably have pinched her ears. Forget it, I'm too lazy to care about you. Anyway, your dirty hands are not mine. Suyuexi rolled her eyes and said, hurry up and show that stinky woman what you can do now. Okay. Zhang Zizai joined Long Yan and the others, as well as Lu Dingxing. Starting from the Misty Rain Pavilion, they arrived at their destination soon after. This was the place where the Divine King Palace entertained guests. Since the Lord of the Eternal Night had come, there were naturally many divine lords from the Divine King Palace entertaining them. When they arrived, the Divine King of Tiandu was chatting and laughing with the Lord of the Eternal Night. The woman was still very graceful, and it was hard to tell how old she was. Her appearance was naturally extremely beautiful. No wonder the Divine King from the Galaxy Divine Domain liked her. When Zhang Zizai and the others came in, the Lord of the Eternal Night happened to look up and her eyes met Zhang Zizai's. At that moment, a cold edge pierced out from her eyes, which was a test from her. However, Zhang Zizai, who possessed the immortal will of the War Heaven, was not affected at all. He walked in as if nothing had happened, and the group came to the camp of the Divine King Palace. The Lord of Eternal Night naturally knew the intimidation of his gaze on the young man. Zhang Zizai's lack of reaction usually only occurred in contests of equal strength. Only the God King of Tiandu could describe him so lightly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1148. So Zhang Zizai was like this, and she naturally had some certainty in her heart. But Zhang Zizai could see that she would definitely not give up. At this time, Tiandu God King smiled and said, Star Lord, now you believe it, they have indeed returned from the dragon sacrifice divine realm. I saw it, but when they arrived at the dragon sacrifice divine realm, they should normally develop there. Are you coming back to the small divine realm for vacation? The Star Lord of Yanjai asked with a smile. We were driven back. Are you happy to say that? Zhang Zizai said lightly. He was too lazy to be polite to this person. Anyway, they were all enemies. The Star Lord of Yanjai was not angry. She naturally would not believe what Zhang Zizai said. She only wanted to see what she saw. If Zhang Zizai did not make much progress, then he was likely to be driven back, but if he made great progress, how could he be driven back? What nonsense! Why should I be happy whether you are in the sacrifice dragon god realm? I just thought that you were the first in the small god realm, but how low would you be in the sacrifice dragon god realm? Have you clearly felt that there is always someone better than you? The Star Lord of Eternal Night said with a smile. Zhang Zizai also smiled. The other party came with bad intentions. She was polite to the God King of Tiandu, but when facing Zhang Zizai, she could not hide her purpose at all. She just wanted to see what Zhang Zizai had achieved in the sacrifice dragon god realm during these days. If there was nothing, the God King of Tianlong would probably give up on him. It feels okay, but the biggest feeling is that after coming back, I found that the Star Lord, who was once the supreme being in my heart, is just a small role in the sacrifice dragon god realm. There was no need to smooth things over after such a tit-for-tat confrontation. Even the God King of Tiandu laughed at their dispute. Unknowingly, it seemed that Zhang Zizai could already compete with the Star Lord of Eternal Night. Being rebuked by Zhang Zizai again, the Star Lord of Eternal Night naturally got angry, but she smiled and said, From your tone, it seems that you have made great progress in the sacrifice dragon divine domain, but there is no evidence. Who knows if you are bragging? Do you want to find someone to practice with you? That's no problem, I'm just afraid that the Star Sea of Eternal Night will lose too badly. Star Lord, you can't save face, Zhang Zizai said. The Star Lord of Eternal Night looked at him, then looked at Long Yan. She squinted her eyes and asked, "Have you too reached the realm of God?" In fact, this is already shocking enough. In the small divine domain, almost none of their same age have become gods, but they have already become god lords. They are almost on par with many elders present. If the Star Lord thinks it is, and if it is not, it is not, Zhang Zizai said. Very good. The Lord of the Eternal Night looked at the people around her, and she pointed out one person, saying, "Ji Yuntian, you come to meet Zhang Zizai, and see what kind of ability a genius who has studied in the sacrifice dragon divine domain has that can make him so arrogant." The one he pointed out was also a god lord of the Eternal Night Star Sea, and he was not very old, and was considered to be a very famous one here. Zhang Zizai laughed a few times, and he looked at the young man named Ji Yuntian. This kind of aptitude is indeed very poor in the sacrifice dragon divine domain, but it is one of the best here. This person named Ji Yuntian is at most the third level of the God Lord realm, but after all, he is young and energetic, and is a very strong backbone of the Eternal Night Star Sea. When this person came out, many people laughed at the Lord of the Eternal Night Star Sea, thinking that she was too timid to even send Ji Yuntian out. Zhang Zizai is only in his 20s and just became a god 2 or 3 years ago, but she actually let Ji Yuntian deal with them. Whatever he said, he is countless times older than Zhang Zizai, and he has been a god for a long time. Wouldn't she take the opportunity to take revenge? Don't worry, Tiandu God King is here and won't let them mess around. Ji Yuntian has already stood up, obviously forcing a fight. They have many ways to prevent Zhang Zizai from retreating, but they never expected that after arranging this opponent for Zhang Zizai, he suddenly smiled and said, "If it is really him, I don't agree." "Are you scared?" Ji Yuntian sneered. "That's not the case, it's just that this person can't show my level." "With your level, it's almost the same as Yaner," Zhang Zizai said. "How can you compare with Zhang Zizai at the third level of the God realm without a God King totem? Zhang Zizai is already at the second level of the God realm." "Are you cowardly and talking nonsense?" the Lord of the Eternal Night sneered. "You will know if you try." Zhang Zizai was too lazy to argue with her too much. Since she was unwilling to change people, he would first let her see how powerful Long Yan was, so that the people of Yanjai Star Sea would retreat. To be honest, Yanjai Star Lord was the main culprit at the time. She brought such a disaster to Yanur, and the account itself has not been settled yet. It's time to let her see what Long Yan, whom she failed to kill, is like now. Under Zhang Zizai's instruction, Long Yan directly suppressed Ji Yuntian when he did not retreat. When her totem god image, the ancient blood prison dragon, was revealed, it directly caused a strong shock, especially when her totem god image was divided into two. It was even more unbelievable. She has actually become a god. The totem god image has come out, how could it be wrong? Their shock did not last long, because even if Ji Yuntian did not fight, Long Yan's strong coercion would force him to quickly save his life. At this moment, he had completely felt the danger of this terrifying opponent. He fought with Long Yan almost without thinking, but when his totem god just appeared, he directly let the two ancient blood prison dragons entangled, and his violent strength directly devoured them alive. "Get out!" Ji Yuntian was horrified and hurriedly used all his skills, but when his totem god was suppressed, in just a blink of an eye, a sharp thorn had passed through his left arm. In an instant, he suffocated directly, and the fatal danger of the bloodthorn of the sky penetrated his body, and he fell directly to the ground. One person didn't know whether he would live or die, and the other was relaxed and at ease. The outcome of this game was already very obvious. If there was no Long Yan, then Ji Yuntian would almost be dead. She put away the bloodthorn and took back the 9 deaths blood demon in Ji Yuntian's body. He let out a long sigh. Although his face was pale and he looked like he was on the verge of death, he was still alive. But even so, Ji Yuntian still couldn't stop shivering. He shivered like this and returned to the team of the Eternal Night Star Sea, hardly daring to raise his head. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1149. At this moment, the whole place was silent, almost no one spoke, and everyone was immersed in the unbelievable scene just now, until Long Yan silently returned to Zhang Zizai's side, and Zhang Zizai smiled and said, "I said, he has no qualifications to fight with me. If the Star Lord must want to know what level I have reached now, let this old ghost of Xingzia come down and fight with me. It's really a wave before it's over." When people were still in Long Yan's terror and didn't react, Zhang Zizai actually wanted to challenge an ancestor-level figure of the 6th level of the God realm. Xingzia God is very old, and he has a long history, but his realm and strength are not too high, especially when he is older. His realm has fallen a little, and now he is the 6th level of the God realm. However, he does not have a God King level totem, only a God King level totem, which leads to his realm being watered down. At least for Zhang Zizai, he is equivalent to a God King level totem genius of the 5th level of the God realm. And he is already old, even worse. But for the people around him, the 6th level of the God realm is the 6th level, and seniority is seniority. As the star god who was once arranged to be Ji Yingying's ancestor, his own strength and prestige are very high. He is a very senior existence, and he seems to have never thought that he would be challenged by a young man in his 20s one day. And he also said, "Star God, is it because you are older that your courage has become smaller? I would like to fight with you. Do you have the courage?" If it were someone else, he would definitely think that he could be bold, but he is Zhang Zizai after all. Star God didn't expect it to be him. When he was stunned, the Star Lord of Eternal Night said, "Okay, you actually have such a great ambition and are so confident in yourself, I will give you the opportunity to fight with Star God." She believed that Star God would know what she meant, and she must find out Zhang Zizai's trump card. Only by knowing the trump card can you know the loophole. In this way, this battle with a huge age gap is basically confirmed. This is probably the most age disparity battle in the history of the small god realm, but the interesting thing is that people are really a little scared. According to Long Yan's current strength, Zhang Zizai really has a little chance to fight with such an existence. No one can imagine that they will become the object of confrontation now. Zhang Zizai glanced at the star god in front of him. The old man was a little cautious and had a lot of defense against Zhang Zizai. The totem of the star god, named Aurora Star Dragon Totem, is just an ordinary god-level totem, which is almost a garbage existence in the dragon sacrifice god realm. Compared with Zhang Zizai's totem, it is really far behind. His only advantage is that his realm is 4 levels higher than Zhang Zizai. Zhang Zizai can make up for the gap in many aspects, but in general, it is estimated that he is about the same as this guy. However, Zhang Zizai has a spiritual willpower that the other party cannot imagine. Therefore, when the battle broke out, the star god used the totem weapon, the 9 stars beads, to suppress Zhang Zizai. The shining totem god image began to be born. When he was about to suppress Zhang Zizai's forbidden dragon god image came out, which directly made his totem god image tremble. Next, it was completely Zhang Zizai's rhythm. He used chaos lightning to make the opponent unable to find his position at all, and then blocked the attack of the star god with the platinum bell cover. To be honest, he was much easier to deal with than Huangfu Feng under the reverse dragon formation. Huangfu Feng in his prime was not the opponent of the Eternal Night Star Lord. Next, the Heaven Sacrifice Dragon God Halberd and the 5 Emperors Dragon Seal were used in succession, one move after another, completely suppressing the Star God, making him completely breathless. Under Zhang Zizai's violent and rough suppression, Zhang Zizai directly shook the Star God away in less than 3 breaths, and his old bones were about to fall apart. Dun Zhang Zizai clapped his hands, ignoring the Xingzia God who rolled out on the ground, looking relaxed and natural. His ease and the embarrassment of Xingzia God formed an extremely sharp contrast. Now Xingzia God was like a rat crossing the street, still in a daze. He didn't understand it himself, so he let Zhang Zizai suppress him directly, without looking up for a moment, until he was defeated. Everyone could see the gap between him and Zhang Zizai. No way. Even Su Yuexi shivered a few times, thinking that she had been with such a monster these days. She shivered a little. There were too many people who thought the same as her. Many people wanted to see the Eternal Night Star Lord. What would her reaction be? People took a closer look and found that she bit her lips tightly and looked at Zhang Zizai with a pale face. I'm afraid she had felt despair. Star Lord, are you satisfied? Zhang Zizai asked. Satisfied, she stood up somewhat lost. Perhaps from this moment on, she knew what she was going to give up. After standing up, she said goodbye to the God King of Tiandu weakly, and then left with his people from the Eternal Night Star Sea without looking back. From now on, she will definitely never think about revenge again, and she has to think carefully about how she should deal with it if Zhang Zizai cares about the past with her in the near future. After seeing Zhang Zizai's current strength, I'm afraid that the entire Eternal Night Star Sea will be dead in the future. On the contrary, the God King Palace was boiling directly. Even the God King of Tiandu smiled helplessly. His current idea might be to give both of his daughters to Zhang Zizai. Of course, Long Yan's outstanding performance actually surprised many people. The only one who could achieve this level and surpass her was Zhang Zizai. Zhang Zizai, I believe that you will return to the dragon sacrifice divine domain one day, and it won't be too long, Tiandu God King said. Zhang Zizai also thought so. After Yan Zhingai left, Zhang Zizai's terrifyingness had spread throughout the entire small divine domain. And after that, Zhang Zizai actually knew more clearly that if he didn't have enough talent, how many people would want to crush him. So, he continued to calm down. Even in the small divine domain, he knew that he must not fall behind. In addition to practicing, he also had something to do, that is, entering the evolution world. Now there are too many people around him, and he has the evolution source resources of the God King level, so he wants to give two people a suitable evolution source. That is Su Yuexi and Shen Xiao. He roughly knows where those evolution sources are, so he has locked the target. As for Long Yan, Zhang Zizai actually looked for it, but he hasn't found a suitable one so far. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1150. The second level of the evolutionary world is not a place where Zhang Zizai can do whatever he wants for the time being. The last time the Beast Claw appeared, he was able to obtain the evolution source of the blood-maned Dark Unicorn, which was a special case. Now the Beast Claw has become a part of Lu Dingxing, and it no longer has the power to intimidate the Beast King. Although Zhang Zizai roughly knows which Beast Kings in the second level of the evolutionary world have what evolution sources, to obtain their evolution sources, he still needs a very suitable opportunity. He got the experience of great fortune Yin and Yang from the blood prison twin demons, which inspired him. Therefore, he squatted in the evolutionary world from time to time, waiting for those beast kings with evolution sources to leave their nests, or when they have disputes with other beast kings. This time may be rare, but if he squats for a long time, he can still encounter one or two times. During this period, Zhang Zizai mainly monitored two beast kings, one named Skylight Lion and the other named Furnace Xuanhuan. Both of them are absolutely fierce beasts. They dominate one side in the evolutionary world. They are neighbors and occupy one side of the land respectively. There will be occasional friction between them. Zhang Zizai discovered through long-term observation that it was mainly because there was a very hot lava river underground in the territory of the Skylight Lion. This lava river flows all the way to the Furnace Xuanhuan, and the Furnace Xuanhuan likes to stay in this lava river. The further upstream the lava river is, the hotter it is, and the happier it is. Sometimes it can't help but step into the territory of the Skylight Lion. In fact, if it wasn't afraid of the Skylight Lion, it would have wanted to invade this territory and take it for itself. The evolution world is so quiet. They don't know how many years they have been fighting, and there is no winner. Until now, small frictions are still going on, which looks quite funny. It feels like two big men with great strength, but they are stupid. The reason why the divine beasts are divine beasts is different from the totem beasts, and it is also because they really do not have the complex wisdom and strategy of the human race. Only when humans become totem beasts, that is perfect. The reason why Zhang Zizhe pays attention to them is that the God King level evolution sources they each occupy are likely to be useful to him, especially the furnace Xuanhuan. Zhang Zizhe has long seen that there are many God Lord level evolution sources and one God King level evolution source in its nest. That evolution source is called Tianyuankinkan furnace. Tianyuankinkan is a world, vast and boundless. The furnace flames born in this world are endless. If it is integrated into the totem world, it can turn the world into a furnace and fall into the cover of the fire of Tianyuankinkan. The Tianyuankinkan fire is the ultimate among the divine fires. This is almost tailor-made for Shen Xiao. Zhang Zizhe is almost certain that when she has such a God King level evolution source, her totem will be able to evolve to the God King level immediately. Although she is in a small divine domain, her talent still has a lot of room to play. The other Sky Light Lion has a God King level evolution source called Ancient Sky Mysterious Light, which is also a top-level evolution source of the God King level, and is at the same level as Great Fortune Yin and Yang. Zhang Zizhe thinks that this should be given to Suyuexi, because Suyuexi's God City totem is a city. In fact, she is not very picky about the evolution source. Her totem happens to have a strong adaptability to many evolution sources. Of course, it is also difficult to find the most suitable one, so Zhang Zizhe will just think about it for the time being. For the time being, he is mainly looking for opportunities to see if he can steal this Tianyuankinkan furnace. This is actually quite difficult. So I can only squat slowly. Fortunately, he had Chaos Lightning, and he always had the Gate of Evolution ready for himself. In fact, he had noticed these two Beast Kings since he returned to Qingchuan. The next step was a long wait. He would occasionally take a look when he was not practicing. In fact, the two Beast Kings were equally powerful, otherwise they would not have been deadlocked for so long. Most of the time, they were just fighting. But for a while, Zhang Zizhe clearly felt that the dispute between them seemed to be much bigger. During this period, it was mainly because the furnace Xuanhuan seemed to have become stronger, so it had a strong desire to provoke. In fact, in previous fights, it suffered more losses, so it held a grudge. It seemed that after becoming more confident in itself, its actions and courage were also greater, and it repeatedly provoked in the lava river, making the Sky Light Lion very angry. Finally, as Zhang Zizhe expected, the two top Beast Kings started a world-shaking contest. When they were fighting, many people around them retreated to prevent themselves from being accidentally injured. Zhang Zizhe had not left the evolution world during these days. He had been waiting for this moment for too long. When the two Beast Kings became more and more angry, and almost all the previous hatreds were piled up and exploded, and the earth shook and the sky was dark, he opened the door of the evolution world and quietly approached the nest of the furnace Xuanhuan. In such an important battle, of course, it did not bring the evolution source. In addition to the Tianyuankinkan furnace, there were more than a dozen god-level evolution sources, all of which were top-level existences. Zhang Zizhe broke through the heavy flames arranged by the furnace Xuanhuan with Chaos Lightning and Platinum Bell cover. The first moment he got many evolution sources, he fled directly. At this moment, of course, he ran as far as he could. When he rushed out of the nest, he heard the earth-shaking roar of the furnace lion in the distance, and knew that it had known that its precious evolution source had been stolen. This behavior was very rare in the evolution source, so it had almost no defense. Moreover, in the second level of the evolution source, other beast kings that needed the Tianyuankinkan furnace did not exist at all. There was no beast king with the same attributes as it. After realizing this, it must have returned at the speed of light and killed the thief. Although it was far away, it was very likely that it had locked Zhang Zizai, and Zhang Zizai was still some distance away from the gate of the evolution world that had been placed. It must be extremely dangerous at this time, but how could you get the treasure without taking risks? So Zhang Zizai could only leave with all his strength. But unexpectedly, the furnace lion did not catch up. Zhang Zizai looked back and was immediately happy. It turned out that the skylight lion knew that its treasure had been stolen, and was excited. At this time, it was intercepting the furnace lion and not letting it leave. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1151. Its forced obstruction was still very effective. Although the entire battlefield shifted towards Zhang Zizai, it was not so easy to catch up with Zhang Zizai. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow Yiji. Under such circumstances, Zhang Zizai flashed away directly. His chaotic lightning was out of the control of the furnace Xuanhuan in a very short time. Although he could still see the two giant beasts fighting in the distant sky, he was completely out of danger. The behavior of the skylight lion was completely in Zhang Zizai's plan, because the Tianyuankinkan furnace could make the furnace Xuanhuan continue to become stronger. Once it lost this evolution source, one day in the future, the skylight lion would be able to suppress it, and then it would no longer be bothered by the furnace Xuanhuan. It seems that the skylight lion is quite insidious. It knows the importance of this evolution source to the furnace Xuanhuan. From the irritable roar of the furnace Xuanhuan, we can tell how angry it is at the moment. Zhang Zizai put away the evolution source. It was not the first time he stole something. He was calm and prepared to go through the evolution realm gate to avoid the limelight. But now he thought that he still had a chance. Now the furnace Xuanhuan was already killing. The battle between them was obviously not so easy to end. It seemed that both of them were covered with wounds, but in fact, such flesh injuries were nothing to their powerful divine bodies. Zhang Zizai went around in a big circle. When the two divine beast kings were still fighting to the death, and when the skylight lion was still blocking the furnace Xuanhuan from chasing Zhang Zizai, he had quietly arrived at the skylight lion's lair. Unexpectedly, this time it was even smoother. He directly got the ancient sky mysterious light and more than a dozen god-level evolution sources, and then left directly. After he left the nest, he naturally saw the dazzling light shining between heaven and earth. The skylight lion had locked onto him. At this moment, its rage and regret were even more serious than the furnace Xuanhuan. It was because it blocked the furnace Xuanhuan that Zhang Zizai had time to get around it and get its evolution source. This was like shooting himself in the foot. It directly gave up the battle and wanted to chase and kill Zhang Zizai, because it knew exactly how fragile this tiny thing was in its hands. At that time, he never expected that at this moment, the furnace Xuanhuan was entangled with it like crazy, and it would not let it chase Zhang Zizai. This is simply karma. The furnace Xuanhuan was furious. It actually knew that killing Zhang Zizai at this time might not help it get back its things. It was very likely that Zhang Zizai had hidden them somewhere else, and it was also possible that the skylight lion would destroy them. However, the skylight lion was very likely to get back its things. So, it simply fought to the death. The blood and chi that had been blocked just now attacked its heart. At this time, it was like crazy, and it completely returned everything it had just endured to the skylight lion. All this was smooth beyond Zhang Zizai's expectations. This snipe and clam fight completely allowed the fisherman to get everything without any effort. When the furnace Xuanhuan was completely at odds with the skylight lion, he certainly cherished this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and ran away directly. This time he was out of their sight and escaped into the gate of the evolutionary world. Danger and safety were separated by this line. The moment the gate of the evolutionary world closed, Zhang Zizai knew that he was completely safe. This time he was so lucky that it was like a dream. He looked at the 2 God King level evolution sources in the Space Jade Pendant, and more than 30 God Lord level evolution sources, and couldn't help laughing. Now, it is estimated that he will never be able to send them all. He thought of Zhang Junjian, who was still in the origin continent. He estimated that he could take him back at that time, so that their family would have God Lord level evolution sources. Zhang Yi was estimated to be practicing soon. But now that he was in a very good mood, of course he would strike while the iron was hot and send out the 2 God King level evolution sources. Suyuexi and Shen Xiao were all in the Misty Rain Tower. Zhang Zizai told them that he was looking for evolution sources for them in the evolution world, but when they heard that they needed to fight against the God Beast King, they actually asked Zhang Zizai not to take risks, so this should be a surprise for them. Zhang Zizai shouted directly and called them all over. Together with Yan'er, the 3 of them stood in a row in front of him. "What on earth are you doing? You're sneaking around," Suyuexi glared. Just now, she and Shen Xiao were trying out high-end cosmetics that were tribute from all over the small divine domain. These were all made of magical medicines. Ugly women could change their appearance, let alone them. Choosing concubines, Zhang Zizai was in a good mood and said with a smile. "Finally got it? Want to build a harem or something, with a group of wives and concubines?" Shen Xiao grew up in the palace and knew men's thoughts best. "So you agree?" he asked with a smile. "You wish. You wish. Isn't the difference between your appearance and mine big enough?" Zhang Zizai said. "Ugly men are more likely to do mischief." Shen Xiao looked down on them. "If you say that, I won't give you this surprise," Zhang Zizai said with his arms folded. "What surprise? Do I have a share?" Suyuexi was very smart and had a premonition. She stared at Zhang Zizai with her eyes shining. Zhang Zizai took out the ancient sky mysterious light, placed it on his palm, and said, "Of course I have a share. But..." Before he finished speaking, the girl rushed over and snatched the evolution source from Zhang Zizai's hand. In her joy, she kissed him hard on the face, leaving a bright red lip print on his face. This initiative made Zhang Zizai hold back all his words. "But what? Do you want to pledge yourself to me?" "I'm ready at any time," Suyuexi took the evolution source and said with a smile. At this time, her pretty face was red, which made people intoxicated. "But I have to wait until I succeed in evolution first. If I fail, it won't count. I don't want to lose money." After saying that, she ran away. Zhang Zizai wanted to tease her, but he was teased in return. The lip print on her mouth was the evidence of being humiliated. "What? You want to come too? Is there any room here?" Zhang Zizai asked awkwardly, looking at Shen Xiao. Shameless, she said this, totally disdainful. "How about this?" Zhang Zizai took out the Tianyuankinkan furnace. Now that she had the treasure in her hand, she would be so arrogant. Sure enough, after seeing the evolution source, her eyes lit up. After all, she was a girl, and when she got such a gift, she was inevitably overjoyed. So she became shy in an instant, moved up with lotus steps, and asked, "Brother Zizai, is this really for Xuanhuan?" Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1152. "Of course, but you have to get paid," Zhang Zizai coughed. "I know." She stretched out her hand and looked at Zhang Zizai with blurred eyes. When she got the source of evolution and put it away, her face changed instantly. Not only did she not kiss him, she also wanted to step on Zhang Zizai. Zhang Zizai knew this, the guy was not that soft, and was prepared early. Before she could move her feet, he reached out and pinched her face, causing her to grimace in pain. "If you want to sneak attack me, there's no way," Haha, hurry up and evolve, Zhang Zizai said with a smile. Sooner or later, I'm going to knock you down. Shen Xiao's face was red and swollen from being pinched. From the looks of it, Zhang Zizai was really a killer. But she was also happy. After all, getting such a treasure almost changed her future. When she also evolved, only Longyan was left. She kept smiling as she watched Zhang Zizai laughing and joking with them. This girl was so strange. She wasn't jealous at all. I haven't found a suitable one yet. When a suitable one comes, I will get it for you as soon as possible, Zhang Zizai said. After all, the person who needs the God King level evolution source the most right now is actually her. There's no rush, Longyan said. Do you need to pay in advance? There is another side to this, Zhang Zizai said with a smile. She was startled for a moment, then her face turned red, and she suddenly lowered her head and said, "Okay." After she finished speaking, she stepped forward and lightly touched Zhang Zizai's face with her red lips. The lip mark left behind was very light, but for some reason, it gave him a thrilling feeling. Judging from her heartbeat, maybe, he really feels more for Yan'er. I'm leaving first. She passed Zhang Zizai and walked into the misty rain. When Zhang Zizai looked back at her, her long skirt was submerged in the misty rain, like a dream. The beauty is so good, they are all good girls, so Zhang Zizai is afraid of letting them down. He doesn't know how to repay, maybe he can only help them grow as much as possible, have a better future, and even become gods, and the years will last forever. After solving their totem problem, he devoted himself to practicing the Yuanqi Holy Dragon God realm. Although the conditions here were not as good as those in the Dragon Sacrifice God realm, Zhang Zizai's foundation in the God realm was very solid. Leaving the Dragon Sacrifice God realm for a few years would not have any impact. Would be too big. If you are not in the Dragon Sacrifice God realm, the biggest loss is that you will continue to miss out on some resources and creations, such as the inheritance of the War Sky God King and the Forbidden Dragon God aspect. Zhang Zizai regarded this time as just for settling down. When his mood calmed down, his cultivation speed was actually not slow. About a year after returning to Qingchuan, he successfully entered the third level of the Divine King realm, and his totem and divine appearance became much more solid again. After reaching the third level of the Divine Lord realm, his strength has skyrocketed again. If he is on the Supreme list now, he should be able to achieve even greater things. After all, the person at the top of the Supreme list at his age is at most the fifth level of Divine Lord. It's just that those people will have more trump cards. After all, they are the most elite group of people in the entire Dragon Sacrifice domain. During this period, the people around him have made very good progress, especially Shen Xiao and Su Yuexi. After they obtained the God King level evolution source, they evolved their totems into Tianyuankinkan Furnace Divine Dragon Totem and Ancient Sky Xianguang Divine City Totem. Since then, their cultivation has progressed rapidly. In fact, there are only a few people in the entire small divine domain who have God King level totems. The possibility of them becoming God Kings in the future is very high. Sukyanyu brought his little girlfriend to the God King Palace, and asked Zhang Zizai for a God level totem and a God level totem, allowing her to directly evolve the totem. It is estimated that Zimenjiansu will become a god in a short time. After achieving the third level of the Divine King realm, the Heavenly Dragon God King has not returned yet. It is estimated that the war between the Dragon Sacrifice God realm and the Chaos Demon realm is still fierce. Zhang Zizai occasionally went to the evolutionary world a few times. After all, he had not yet understood the secrets of this mysterious world. Even recently, Lu Dingxing occasionally went in with him. He said that he felt that the upper part of the second evolutionary world was very closely related to his current bloodline. It was very likely that there were still many ancient demon god bloodline parts, which would be above this vortex. As for what secrets there are in this world, maybe you can find out by going up to this whirlpool. However, The entrance here was controlled by the Divine Beast King, and even the Divine Beast King kept away from this place. Zhang Zizai felt that if he went up rashly, he would definitely be seeking death. Therefore, he endured it for a while, and spent more time exploring the second level of the evolutionary world. He basically knew what sources of evolution there were, and there was basically nothing suitable for Yanur. If it doesn't work, I guess I can only ask for help from the Heavenly Dragon God King, because it is currently only the evolution source of the God Lord level, which somewhat limits Yanur's progress. Otherwise, it would take such a long time for her to reach the second level of the God Lord realm. Now even Lu Dingxing and Xuanhuan are infinitely close to the realm of divine kings. Zhang Zizai never expected that one day when he entered the evolutionary world again, he would find that the bloody vortex in the second level of the evolutionary world had once again undergone changes similar to those after the beast claws appeared last time. Even the changes this time were even more violent, causing the second level divine beasts in the entire evolutionary world to run around in panic again. The beast kings in the core area ran the fastest. This was a troubled time. This time Zhang Zizai saw that even the blood-maned dark unicorn didn't hide, and also left directly. It is estimated that even these beast kings will hide at the edge of the evolutionary world and stay far away. However, Zhang Zizai already had 2 experiences of suppressing the objects coming from above, so he was not too worried and just waited there. In total, Zhang Zizai might be the only one left below the center of the entire blood-colored vortex. At this time, if the other beast kings had not taken their evolution sources away, there would have been a big harvest, but Zhang Zizai turned around and found that they had basically taken them away. At this time, the blood-colored vortex in the sky not only accelerated its rotation, but also began to vibrate, or in other words, it seemed to be jumping. Bang, bang, bang. It seemed that this blood-colored vortex trapped a giant beast, and then the giant beast was constantly hitting from the inside. The regular vibration sound was simply numbing. Zhang Zizai was now a bold type. After all, he had 2 successful experiences. Although this thing was indeed very strange, as long as it was similar to the previous 2 times, he should be able to give Lu Dingxing another capital. Now that he had more beast claws, his lethality was even stronger.